Joseph Kennedy, 9:30 to 10:50. Aldo Leopold, a well-known philosopher, scientist, environmentalist, and conservationist, said that conservation is a state of harmony between men and land. Today we'll be discussing how hunting is not just the killing of animals, but is conservation, and why it should be allowed worldwide. I believe it is crucial to look at information when deciding whether something should or should not be allowed. That'd be the cold hard facts, and that's what we'll examine today. First, we'll talk about what hunting is and why it gets a bad name. Second, we'll talk about the impact it has. And finally, we'll talk about why it should be allowed worldwide. So, what is hunting? Princeton's WordNet defines hunting as the work of finding and killing or capturing of animals for food or pelts. Hunting can be done through several methods, including firearms, archery, and trapping. Contrary to what many people think, hunting is also regulated by state agencies. So where does it get the bad name from? Organizations such as the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, or PETA, stated this about hunting. Although it was crucial for human survival 100,000 years ago, hunting now, stands for nothing but a violent form of recreation. So, what do you think of when you think of hunting? I'd be willing to bet that you probably have an image of killing an animal. You wouldn't be wrong if you thought or said that either. But hunters don't see it as that. Yes, an animal is usually killed, or as most hunters say, harvested, but the impact of that is much greater. Dr. John Hutton, the executive director of the World Conservation Monitoring Center, says that hunting isn't part of conservation, hunting is conservation. So what impacts does it have? On the environment, hunting impacts it greatly. That's the conservation aspect of it. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services states that hunters are the most ardent conservationists around. So if you're still questioning why hunting relates to conservation, think of it from an economical standpoint. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service also states that through the Pittman-Robertson Act, both sportsmen and women have contributed more than $14 billion to conservation since 1937. And these annual payments to the state fish and wildlife agencies have resulted in the recovery of deer, turkey, and many non-game species for both the benefit of hunters and non-hunters alike. The Pittman-Robertson Act was signed by Theodore Roosevelt and was an 11% tax on firearms and ammunition and other outdoor things like permits for hunting and fishing that went straight to wildlife restoration. An article from the Safari Club states that well-regulated trophy hunting helps wildlife and local economies, while attacks on hunting harm the very animals that they are trying to save. So now that we know the impacts of hunting in the United States, why should it be allowed worldwide? Hunting is just as big as controversy as it is here in the United States as it is worldwide. Luckily in the United States, we have much stricter and harsher guidelines regulating hunting. Other places don't have that, and those same places face a greater number of poachers. Any true hunter disagrees fully with every aspect of poaching. Poaching is detrimental to some species. The Center for Conservation of Biology said poaching caused a decline in African elephants from 1.3 million to 600,000 individuals from 1979 to 1987. Poaching is not hunting nor conservation. Poachers follow no regulations to quantity or to what kind of animals can be taken from a herd. Hunters in the hunting industry donate millions of dollars each year to anti-poaching efforts. Hunters also can help feed natives and native people in other places across the world that need food. Hunters usually cannot take food or meat that they have harvested across borders, so they have to donate it. And this donated meat goes to the native people. It does not get wasted. We actually have this in the US as well, and it is called Share the Harvest. So, it not only helps people people in countries, but it also helps the animals. So, hunting worldwide maintains a healthy environment for animals and humans. So now it's time for us to stand up for what's right. After examining the logical fallacies against hunting and the impacts of hunting in the United States, I think the facts speak for themselves. We have covered what hunting is and where it gets the bad name. We've covered the impacts it has both on the environment and the economy. And we've investigated what it does worldwide. We've determined that both economically and the healthy environmental impact is high. So with these facts about hunting, we know that it does much more good than it does harm. So it should be allowed worldwide.